Fellow and members of the media, our leadership present here, safe to say, tomorrow we are having a Politburo meeting. So we'll have an extensive discussion and further elaboration on our comprehensive. Tomorrow we'll be having our Politburo, in which we will have further enhance the statement that we're going to share with you today and our comprehensive response effectively to the decision taken by the ANC which affects the role of communists inside the ANC or in our movement. But let me start by highlighting that as we meet here, you would have known that the Israeli government had just killed a journalist, Amal Khalil, in Lebanon. Amal Khalil had initially survived targeted drone attacks together with other journalists. And this week, they finally got her and murdered her. This we want to condemn in the strongest terms possible. The continued targeting of journalists all over the world, particularly those who are currently covering Israel and US aggression and war on Iran and in other parts of the world. So we want to affirm the necessity for the protection of journalists in all areas, including in war zones, where they are able to cover the news and transmit that to the people. Coming to our statement. We want to indicate that we are affirming the independence of the party and upholding revolutionary discipline and advance the struggle for working class representation towards socialism. This statement is also a circular we are sending to our members to respond to the developments inside our movement. Our statement reads as follows. The SACP, South African Communist Party, has never had a problem with the ANC contesting elections in its own right. The SACP has never regarded the ANC as an enemy, even for contesting election in its own right. The SACP has never disciplined or threatened any of its members for participation in building, voting, and campaigning for the ANC. In fact, as the history of the past 30 years of our hard-won universal adult suffrage since 1994 shows, the SACP has not only embraced the ANC contesting elections in its own right, but has also supported the ANC's electoral contest, to the extent of the SACP even reserving its own right to contest elections directly in favor of voting for and campaigning for more votes beyond ours for the ANC within the framework of the alliance. In the golden rules of justice and solidarity, the principles of consistency are as crucial as in mathematics. The moment you expect one side to do what you demonstratively are not prepared to do yourself, or to sustain forever what you have never done in a single moment of history, you must recognize that you are being unfair, with far-reaching implications. In mathematics, when you resolve formulas, they say do what you do on the left, also on the right. Today, the SACP addresses all its members, leaders and structures at a moment of major political consequence for the future of the party, that is the SACP, the alliance, and the revolutionary working class struggle for socialism, and more broadly, our nation at large. The ANC NEC leadership has now moved beyond tactical disagreement on the SACP's decision to contest the 2026 local government elections independently. Through its internal speaker's notes and related directives, the ANC has sought to turn a tactical difference into an administrative and disciplinary ultimatum directed at communists inside the ANC. The ANC demands declaration from members of the SACP and threaten action against those it believes are acting for the party's campaign, while insisting there should be no witch hunts. This for us is not a minor procedural adjustment. It is regrettably a serious anti-communist political move with far-reaching implications, which also changes the character of the ANC as we know it. It amounts to an attempt to reinterpret the alliance and dual membership in a narrow electoral and one-sided compliance terms. It seeks to reduce a historic strategic relationship forged in a bitter struggle for national liberation with shed blood, sacrifice, and shared battles into a one-sided demand for subordination and permanent support from an ally while never considering reciprocating the same support for a single moment, or literally a single second of time measurement. This is, in substance, the essence of the ultimatum to communists in the ANC. The party rejects this approach with the contempt that it deserves. We reject it not because we reject discipline. On the contrary, ours is a party of iron discipline. We reject it because no genuine alliance can be sustained on the basis of coercion by one partner, exercising its independence, but coercing another against exercising its independence. We reject it because the strategic alliance has never meant the liquidation of the Communist Party into the ANC. We reject it because dual membership was never meant to abolish the SACP's right to think, to organize, to campaign, and to lead struggles and develop tactics on any question as an independent party of the working class. We reject it because the problems now confronting the National Democratic Forces did not arise because the SACP chose to contest elections. They arose from political deviations on the liberation agenda and radical economic changes required to make liberation tangible and meaningful to the masses, and prevarication on the common ownership of land and the wealth beneath it, and a deeper crisis in the movement, mass disillusionment, declining voter turnout, neoliberal drift by the government, and control of the economy and economic policy by monopoly capital and foreign forces, including and especially the Harvard Group that have just recently imposed an economic policy on our movement. Equally, corruption, patronage, factionalism, and the marginalization of working class solutions in major policy questions, even where these are agreed in the Common Alliance manifestos. No amount of administrative enforcement can resolve a political crisis whose roots lie in the lived reality of the people. So the SACP's position remains clear. We therefore reaffirms clearly and without ambiguity our decision to contest 2026 local government elections directly under our own banner shall continue. We will implement it without fear. The SACP is a part of experience that survived a ban under the Suppression of Communism Act imposed by the apartheid regime in 1950. We're the first organization to be banned in this country by the regime of Verwoerd. We're still here. We will be here for the next 105 years. No aspect of such a ban or anything similar, however it is branded under our hard-won democratic dispensation, can succeed in instilling fear in the SACP. Our decision to contest the forthcoming elections directly was not taken lightly, emotionally or adventurously. It arose from a sober assessment of the crisis facing local government, amongst others, the weakening hold of the liberation movement over working class communities, and the need to rebuild a direct, independent, and accountable political presence of the working class in the terrain of governance and public representation. Our independent contestation is also not a retreat from the struggle for alliance reconfiguration. It is part of that struggle. It is not a retreat from the national democratic revolution itself. It is a struggle over its class direction, its organizational content, and its future. So the ANC leadership has been saying it respects the SACP's right to take its own decisions. But in what is a negation of that respect, they have been also saying they disagree with our decision to stand for elections in our own right. In the same breath, the ANC goes on an intimidation tirade against its members, reflecting its intention to censure the communists regarding their right to take part in ANC activities. As you know, the ANC is a multi-class organization. So it has the right to have communists, non-communists, and so forth. They've never launched a campaign against capital or their members who are in business, for instance. In the same breath, let me repeat this. In the same breath, the ANC goes on an intimidation tirade against its members, reflecting its intention to censure communists regarding their right to take part in SACP activities. A communist party that has resolved to go into election in its own name in this regard. Respect, therefore, cannot coexist with an ultimatum with contradictory demands. Commitment to the alliance cannot coexist with the administrative targeting of communists. A declaration that there will be no witch hunts rings hollow when accompanied by instructions designed to isolate and mischievously monitor and discipline SACP members. The SACP also reminds all cadres and all honest Democrats that the communist contribution to electoral outcomes in the democratic period is a matter of political record. Across successive elections, it was the organized working class, mobilized through SACP structures, trade unions, community formations, and the broader mass democratic movement that helped sustain the alliance vote and deliver government mandates. Even the 2024 outcome, with all its difficulties and setbacks, did not fall from the sky and was not produced by any alliance partner campaigning and voting alone in isolation. It rested in significant measure on the loyalty, sacrifices, and mobilization of workers, the poor, and the communities shaped and organized over decades by communist and allied activism. To seek to privatize the outcome of the elections and now marginalize the SACP and targets its cadres and members through administrative enforcement is not only a breach of alliance discipline, it is a direct affront to the very forces that helped build, defend, and repeatedly renew the electoral base of the movement. And we can say without equivocations here as the SACP, we have given to this movement our all and the best of our cadres, from Krizani to Nelson Mandela to Thabo Mbeki. We have given them the best. They've used them, they've decided at one point or another to even turn them against us. Our votes, therefore, were counted, and our campaign for more votes beyond our own votes mattered. Everybody in deployment, including the very same president, is there because our votes and campaigning for more votes beyond ours, combined with the votes and campaigning by members and structures of other alliance partners, and therefore the entire alliance within its framework. You cannot enjoy the outcomes of these joint efforts while seeking to isolate others who contributed directly through their votes and campaigning. If you do so, the betrayal will be laying the seed of a new contradictions, more especially while you are working hard hand in glove with parties that campaigned not just against you, but campaigns to bring you down. We have mentioned this question repeatedly in the run-up to 2024 elections. The so-called moonshot pact of parties that were organized by the Brandes Foundation, the foundation of the Oppenheimers, organized through European Solidarity Center. They had a big meeting in Gdansk in Poland to plot how to remove this movement from political power. Those parties are now in the government of national unity. And some who attended there, of these 50 leaders from Africa that were sent to Gdansk to plot in the name of defending democracy and against totalitarianism, which was a nice subject to attract participation. But it was clear what was the mission of the Oppenheimers in this regard, as well as the European Union. Amongst them was the leader of the DA, the leader of the IFP, Rolf Meyer, that is now sent to America as our ambassador, and several others, the leader of reactionary forces, of Renamo in Mozambique, of UNITA in Angola, the forces that have fought and killed our comrades when we were fighting for national liberation. The system now has disappeared. With all of that, it is clear now the allies, in this case communists, who died together with ANC members in the bitter struggle for national liberation, are now the ones that are targeted while you are embracing the enemy. So this is coming out much more clear. But the course of history will reveal more about this. As we have never been, we will not be spectators either as the SACP. To our members, we call on them to understand the gravity of the moment, but also to reject panic, confusion, and demoralization. This is not the time for retreat. It is not the time for individual improvisation. It is not the time for public emotionalism. It is the time for disciplined collective conduct. Every SACP member must remain calm, organized, and politically focused. No disciplined comrade must act individually under pressure or improvisation. No comrade must submit to intimidation and ultimatums and make unilateral declarations or tender resignations or take strategic decisions affecting SACP membership and responsibilities without consulting with the party. The SACP will not accede to ultimatums from another organization. Simple as that. That must be understood. Even those who are dreaming, I don't know when people dream, they think they can give instructions to the SACP. We don't take instruction from capital, nor from its stooges. Matters arising from this maneuver must be handled collectively, politically, and through SACP structures. We equally understand that if some members decide to remain with the ANC, we will respect that. We have never forced any member to join us. But we say to them, they must not undermine their own history and their own discipline by acceding to unnecessary ultimatums. All SACP members who are also ANC members must continue to conduct themselves with dignity, discipline, and revolutionary ethics and morality. We will not answer provocations with provocations. We will not descend into abuse, mudslinging, or anti-ANC rhetoric. Our struggle is not against ANC or even ordinary ANC members, many of whom remain our comrades in the broader liberation movement and amongst the motive forces. Our struggle is against things such as neoliberal policies and a political line that seeks to weaken the independent role of the party and diminish working class influence in the movement. No SACP member must therefore accept isolation. SACP branches, districts, and provinces must urgently identify comrades who are directly affected, especially those serving in ANC structures, those deployed in government, those employed in ANC or public offices, and those exposed to direct pressure because of their party responsibilities. These comrades must be placed under organized political care. They must receive guidance, protection, and collective support. The SACP will not abandon its cadres to fend for themselves. The SACP must intensify, not retreat, from its independent political and electoral work. And it must continue the fight against neoliberalism, corruption, and government decay. The answer to intimidation is not paralysis, it is organization. Every branch must strengthen local campaigning, mass contact, voter engagement, political education, community struggles, as we have been doing with our People's Red Caravan. Every community must turn into a People's Red Caravan. Workplace mobilization and public communication around the SACP local government program. Every district and province must ensure that the SACP is independently visible in communities, not only as an electoral force, but as the organized voice of working class grievances, working class demands, working class solutions, and working class hope. All structures of the SACP are required to defend the historic principle of dual membership, which since 1994 we have used it for over 30 years to campaign for the ANC within the alliance framework. Now is the time to assert our independence in elections and both vote for and campaigning for the SACP. Dual membership is not a favor granted by one organization to another. It is a political practice rooted in the history of our liberation struggle, in the strategic alliance between national liberation and socialism, and in the need for all of us to work inside broad mass formations while retaining our independence. To reinterpret the alliance or dual membership as an arrangement valid only when the SACP is electorally subordinate is to empty it of all its historical mission or political meaning, respectively. The SACP will continue to engage alliance partners, family, and fraternally on equal basis. We do not seek an unnecessary rupture at branch, district, or provincial, or even national level. We remain committed to principled engagement and to the long-term necessity of alliance reconfiguration on the basis of mutual respect, strategic clarity, and the independence of each constituent formation. But we will not purchase superficial peace at the price of surrendering the SACP's political role and independence. If we were to locate this in its proper context, it is important to say this development must, as we respond to the Speaker's notes of the ANC, in the context of this development, to locate it properly, that the Speaker's notes attempt to present the SACP's independent electoral contestation as the main danger facing the movement, drawing on by electoral results and provincial experiences compiled from a one-sided view to justify this hardline. But the deeper danger lies elsewhere. The greatest threat is not that of communists or that communists are contesting. The threat to our alliance and the NDR is the capture by monopoly capital on the state and some leading members. Therefore, capital remains strategic enemy of our revolution, not the SACP and its decision to contest elections. Also, the continued erosion of confidence among the working class and poor, the withdrawal of millions from electoral politics, and the inability of local government in many instances to respond to people's basic demands. If this reality is not confronted honestly, then using discipline as an instrument in suppression aimed at communists will solve nothing. The SACP therefore say to its members, do not be distracted by the noise. Focus on the political substance. The working class needs an SACP that can act with courage, clarity, and organization. The people need an SACP that will not disappear into the administrative subordination of another formation, including an ally. The moment demands firmness, not hesitation. Of our immediate task, which we have also shared as we had a discussion with our leadership, our provinces last night, as well as last week after this speaker's notes started circulating. We are calling all our provinces, district, and branch structures to convene urgent meetings to discuss this development and report through SACP channels on the situation in their areas. To this end, The Secretariat will deploy Central Committee members to our districts. Every structure must compile, within the shortest possible time, a clear assessment of comrades who may be affected by the ANC directive and the type of support they require. Provincial and district leadership must also establish reporting lines so that any incident of pressure, exclusion, intimidation, or threatened disciplinary action is immediately communicated upward and collectively handled. At the same time, political education on dual membership, party independence, alliance reconfiguration, and the local government electoral positions must be intensified without delay. And our public representatives, organizers, and local leaders must deepen their work among communities and workplaces and explain with patience and confidence why the SACP is contesting and what it stands for in local government. There must be no factional behavior from our comrades, no opportunism, and no attempt to exploit this conjuncture for personal or local score settling. Any comrade who uses this moment to pursue petty agendas act against SACP discipline. This is a moment for unity, maturity, and revolutionary seriousness. And a direct word also to our cadres and to all communists in the ANC, we say this. And we want to quote from our own document. Stand firm, you are not alone. You are not being asked to choose between discipline and principle. You are being called upon to uphold both under the leadership of the SACP in a difficult and changing conjuncture. Consult the SACP and the party and we'll give you guidance. The SACP has a line from which it will do so. Report to the SACP, act with the SACP. Do not allow yourself to be isolated, panicked, or maneuvered into individual responses to a political question. Whether or not our members are ANC members, the message is equally clear. Strengthen the SACP, both to pursue the immediate objectives and long-term goals of our struggle. The SACP has no interest of its own apart from those of the working class as a revolutionary movement. Build the structures and the branches of the party, deepen our campaigns, organize the workers and the poor, advance the socialist perspective, defend the dignity and independence of Communist Party. This is the road we have chosen. It is not subordination. It is the correct road to end all forms of human exploitation, not collaboration with it. The SACP will not be intimidated out of its historic mission. The SACP will not abandon its cadres, and the SACP will not surrender its independence. And we say forward to people's power, forward to the reconfiguration of the alliance on principled terms, and forward to communist leadership in the struggle for transformation and for socialism. Thank you very much. This is our statement. We just want to indicate that to our team, there's a statement we issued on the 10th of April this year. That day we delivered two statements. Because when the ANC NEC said they chose the day on which our General Secretary was assassinated, Comrade Chrisan, 10th April, when we were having a celebration of Comrade Chrisani in Mpumalanga. They chose that day. It was deliberate. So we delivered a message there. We also have to write a statement to that NEC. We have asked that this statement be distributed to you, and also you can also get it on our website. It's a comprehensive statement. It also dealt with some of, we didn't want to repeat some of those. It dealt with the precursor to this period, the rejection by the ANC leadership to discuss the framework that was developed jointly to finalize that framework. The framework that allowed, where we committed ourselves as the SACP to what we characterize as coordinated elections campaign. We've been discussing this over the last 6 months or so. By the way, they failed to report that discussion to the ANC NGC because they were still saying to us in our meetings, looking at only one option, we had about 4 options. The option that simply said the SACP must not contest elections, which option we completely could not agree with. even up to the NEC level, the last NEC, we said in the absence of the leadership at the officials level, the top 6 in the Communist Party, top 7 in the ANC, where we're failing to reach out to one another in terms of agreement on the basis of a jointly drafted document. We said let's go on and have a discussion at the PB and NWC, as well as the NEC and Central Committee. That has not happened, because the leadership kept on, the ANC leaders kept on saying, let's finalize this thing. They think we can resolve it. Ultimately, we took that document to the alliance. We have now made it an alliance. It was a bilateral document. We have now made it an alliance document. We issued it as well on the 10th of April for the first time, so that whatever it said about us, as if we're the most intransigent in seeking to find solutions, can be found there. The only thing we could not agree, of course, was to change our Congress decision. They can't even change an NEC decision, but they want us to change a Congress decision. So we felt that it's important that as people in the media working on these questions, you can look into those, our statement, as well as that document, our framework document on the possibility to work together in some areas which the ANC rejected. We remained open to that. Like we said, we remain open to further discussions. But they've closed the discussion themselves, not us. At the same time, there's a document that we also believe you can have access to as journalists, especially. This document, as an SACP discussion document in 1993, in anticipation of the 1994 elections. It says the transition to democracy and socialism in South Africa. Go and get that document. You'll get the SACP's clear position on elections, including the option at that time to support the ANC on conditions. It was not a principle to support the ANC forever on election. We used to be independent, to contest elections on our own before the apartheid government banned us. So we are just highlighting you to this document so that you can reach out to them to enlarge the perspective that we are having now. Because at the moment, it's as if this decision is so tectonic, it's shattering everything, it's so unknown. No, we have said it clearly in 1993 that if there's a degeneration of the liberation movement, degeneration in discipline, if there's chaos, like the chaos we are seeing in ill discipline, in corruption and other things, that we will have to consider that commitment as a SACP. We provided a period of over 22 years of discussing the reconfiguration of the alliance. This is the consequence that our Congress therefore said, in the absence of this reconfiguration working, we will have to contest elections on our own. This contest is also a part of reconfiguring the alliance itself. Thank you very much.